It's the Off-Grid Prep Family Podcast.
Good evening, Off-Grid Preppers. It is episode 25. That's crazy.
Yeah.
It's part 2 of emergency backpacks for your whole family. And we have so much more to talk about as far as just like, what do you put in the backpacks? And we have bugged out and had to use ours enough times.
Where did we leave off with our flood story? Did we finish that? I feel like
So
we
the
hadn't finished
helicopter
that.
came.
We didn't even get to the helicopter.
So I went to the fire station. I
Right.
told them where you were. Eventually, the helicopter came to get you. By which time I was at Plan D location.
You guys had left town to go to the country house of a relative.
And it wasn't the direction that you would have intended for us to go. Like, this was not on plan because the flood was coming from away and covering a direction. Like, we had no choice which direction to go to.
Yeah.
It was messed up.
And you were ironically going towards the source of the flood
We ended
in
up
that particular
spending 3 weeks 100 feet from the
flooded
river.
Yeah.
But it was the safest.
Yeah,
place
your
to do
uncle
that.
lost bulls and cows and everything down that river.
I think like 10 acres of land.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Into the river.
That's
and
nuts.
every night we could hear the giant boulders clunking in the river. Like,
I remember
that's how
that.
crazy
It was nuts.
And so you're still on the roof at this point?
Still on the roof. Just now considering like I'd kind of blocked out that people had to go to the bathroom, even though one of the things I grabbed in the house was
Toilet paper.
a bunch of toilet paper.
We talked about that.
Yeah, and just yesterday when we were recapping, I was like, I never actually saw anybody using the toilet. I must have obviously given them their space by turning my head because that's all you could do, and then blocking it out.
Yeah.
Weird things happen. So yeah, we're on the roof, and the sky was crazy.
Okay.
Do
Yeah,
you
it was sort of
remember?
that,
It was like this kaleidoscopic,
like if you've ever lived through a tornado.
Yeah,
It was that same creepy sky, but there wasn't a tornado.
No, but it was tornado season there. There
Mm-hmm.
were tornadoes there. But yeah, we were on the roof, and before the helicopter came, we were all chilling out. It was like the afternoon.
Just hanging out on the roof.
Just hanging out on the roof.
Watching the river go by.
Nervously socializing because we were all just super nervous because this house was a really poorly built house.
Yes.
It's a flat roof structure in
the prairies.
Where it's going to get holy crap cold and 8 feet of snow on it. It was a badly built house. And one of my more interesting memories was we're sitting there and nothing's happening, and suddenly this young guy, I'm mid-30s at this point, so I'm not an old man, but I'm certainly not a young man, and this young guy comes in, and he's walking through the river. This is waist
swim walking,
chest deep poo-filled river water, and he's a little too casually walking through this water.
Creepy.
No, he's gonna drown if I don't do something.
Oh,
he doesn't quite understand where he is.
Yeah,
dementia's setting in. And I yell at him and I get his attention and I say, "Hey, what are you doing? You want to come up on the roof?" And at first, he says, "No, I'm good." No, that's literally what he said.
he was fine. Everything is fine. Everything is fine. We need to take a quick break to talk about Major Mom's ground control.
The best weed and insect repellent I've ever seen.
Encountered.
Yeah.
It is all natural. You will recognize every ingredient on that list.
It won't damage your soil.
Most of the stuff is stuff that you probably use in your kitchen every day, but they've combined it in a way that just obliterates weeds.
The ingredients have been used separately in the past, which is what we are all about. It's what the company who makes this Tiny Foot Ventures is all about. About bringing back forgotten recipes or innovations that were lost in the chemical race of the 20th and 21st centuries.
Right.
It's just been absurd.
So it's faster.
It's better. It's more effective. The ingredients are abundant.
And
you don't have to
for your pets and your kids
it is.
And your people.
Yeah.
And you don't have to dilute it or mix it.
Now, it's not made of urine, but no.
But it is natural.
Everybody's heard this thing where if you pee on your feet, it cures athlete's foot. Now, I haven't done that, but it's because urine has ammonia in it, which is an extremely effective cleaning agent.
Okay, this does not have ammonia in it.
It does not have ammonia. It's not that kind of cleaner.
Right.
It is acetic acid based.
I think
it's got some salt.
It's stronger acetic acid than what you and I can buy.
It looks like 3 times the strength.
Yeah.
So I don't know where you get that, but that's, I think, part of the secret.
Cook it down.
Yeah.
It has coconut oil. Okay, all of these are organic,
several
so
oils,
I'm not going to say organic.
Coconut, palm, olive, hemp oil, jojoba oil.
Peppermint.
That's right. I lived through the 90s.
Jojoba.
I know it's pronounced
everything was jojoba. Jojoba, everything. Lemongrass. It has garlic oil, citric acid, vitamin E.
And what the oils do, from what we can tell, is if you went to pour the base ingredients on a plant, they would just roll off. Mm-hmm. But the integration of the oils and certain oils, as far as we can tell,
almost like it kind of makes it soapy.
It makes it soapy, and it forces it to stick to the leaf of the plant. Anyway, we were astounded.
The
15 minutes.
And the quantities they have. They've got that.
And we did it on a hot sunny day, and you could see these plants. You could actually watch these plants die.
Yeah.
It was amazing.
And if you battle like dandelions in your courtyard or your patio or something.
And if you've tried Roundup, it doesn't do that. You're like, did this work?
Or it doesn't last. Like, it doesn't get the taproot.
No.
Like, you're not having to come
back and
reapply this.
That's what the whole thing is glyphosates hit the taproot, but they don't.
For how bad it is for you, it should be better.
Yeah.
It's not. So use Major Moms instead. If you want a $15 off coupon, you have to buy it from our site.
Yeah.
offgridprepfamily.com. It's in the store. Use the coupon code OGPF and you get $15 off and free shipping within Continental USA and Canada.
Nice.
Sweet. Enjoy the rest of your summer without weeds and bugs.
So
moving on.
We're on this roof and this young guy comes walking up, or wading up, I should say, and it is like almost chest height.
Like, if you've been in a river, like, every once in a while, if you lose your footing, even just like knee height, take it out from
in a real
you.
river, you're gone. Like, you can't recover.
Yeah.
So anyway, this guy's walking through the river, and I'm talking to him, and I immediately realize he's not all there. Like, he's not totally cognizant.
He's in shock or something.
He is in shock, and especially when he was like, "No, I'm good. I don't."
Like, where are you going? He's like headed towards the river.
He is. He's like headed towards the source, going to his dying hole. Anyway, so I get his attention. I like have to kind of yell at him at one point to make him kind of snap out of him. Like, hey! And I end up passing a ladder. This is one of the things I grabbed out of the truck, was a step ladder. And I pass the ladder down so he can climb up, and we yank him up, and he's climbing over me, and then I yank the ladder up so it doesn't get washed away in the flood. And he's standing there looking like a drowned cat. And a few of the women say, they start checking on him, and they're like, "Are you okay?" He's like, no, I'm good. He's covered in mud and gunk and just disgusting. And
like, he probably needs some antibiotics.
Yeah.
And so
eventually I remembered that in my backpack I had bought a change of clothes that day, because that day I had gotten a promotion.
Right.
And I was no longer going to be in the field, and so I thought, well, I'm downtown anyway, looking on a job, I'll swing into a store and get a nice set of clothes. And anyway, I realized I've got clothes in my backpack, so selfishly, I didn't want to give them my new clothes.
They were really nice clothes.
They were! And the clothes I was wearing were still very nice. They were tradesman clothes, and they were clean, and so...
Yeah, some like high-quality Carhartts. And
once again, I'm sure we all saw things that we blocked out that day. There was nowhere to change. So we both stripped down to our underwear. I convinced him to change out of his wet clothes, and I gave him my clothes and put on my new clothes. And that actually leads to a really funny part later in the story. So anyway, the guy's on the roof, and we're there for hours. Hours! Like,
I wish it was only hours. You were there for... Well, till dark.
I was till dark. It was very early in the morning when it started, and I was there till almost midnight. And it wasn't multiple days.
Okay.
Thankfully.
Yeah.
It felt like it, but it wasn't. I think I eventually got to the place you guys fled to at 3 or 4 in the morning.
Yeah, it was almost morning. Yeah.
So the guy gets on the roof, and the flood's getting more and more intense.
Right.
And it's like we're starting to worry about the structural integrity of the building and the houses around us, which were much better built.
Once it starts to get like above the foundation
Yeah.
line and it's flowing through your main floor.
It was, yeah.
like,
This was well above car height. Like
Yeah.
between the time this guy came on the roof and now what I'm talking about now, it was like maybe an hour, and it probably went up 6 feet.
Yeah.
Like it was just insane. And we're on this roof, and some of the girls are getting hungry, so I dug out some of the granola bars that I had saved for my lunch and that I had got from the house when we were in there, and I'm trying to keep everybody happy. And we hear some glass breaking in the house beside us.
Oh no.
Glass. Like I'm sure the main floor is soaked.
Right.
And we look over, and these houses, townhouses, so they're like 10, 12 feet apart, maybe 20 feet apart. And
townhouses. Houses in town.
Houses in town.
Okay.
Sorry.
Yes.
Yeah, these are detached residences in
Bungalows.
town.
Yes.
And I see these arms pushing glass out. Way higher. Like, so this old lady and her dog are in the house next to us the whole time.
Oh, but they couldn't open the door because of the water.
I don't know if it's they couldn't. I feel at some point she chose not to. Like, she was just going to stick it out.
Okay.
Which was very... I don't want to say the name of the town, but this was very that town.
Yes.
Like, I'm just going to push thugh.
Yeah, this will be fun.
God love them. That's part of what we
pull
were raised
myself up by
on.
my
Exactly.
bootstraps.
And so, no judgments at all. I totally get where she was
Yeah.
coming from. But now is the time she realized that, it's only 2 feet between where she's at and the ceiling, and she's going to drown.
She's going to run out of air.
So she's breaking glass and getting out. And it's a raging torrent at this point. Like...
Where's she gonna go?
Nowhere.
She'd just rather drown outside than in.
So at this point, I realize we gotta help this lady.
Yeah.
And I've got 3 kids.
Yeah.
Young kids. And this guy, we've been talking, he's single. He's just chilling out.
Yeah.
And so I jump in the water first.
Okay.
And I'm bringing this up mostly for my own, like...
The funny thing is, until yesterday when we did that first podcast, we've never debriefed on this.
We actually haven't. So
it's like we blocked it out.
You're all witnessing the step-by-step debriefing of an incredible...
A traumatic event from
traumatic
12
life
years
experience.
ago.
We have more, don't worry. Anyway, so this old lady's broken the glass and she's trying to shove her dog out. That's the first thing she's doing. It's like a border collie. It's some weird mutt thing, and I know, obviously she loves this dog.
Yeah.
And immediately you see the dog start to get caught up in the current.
Yeah.
And so I jump in first, and right away I realized I am past my limits.
Yeah.
I'd been dieting heavily.
Yeah.
No, I had. This is where I am as a person in this spot in life.
We were still recovering vegans.
Still recovering vegans.
So.
Which was a bad choice. Milk was a bad...
Milk was a bad
no,
choice.
not milk was a bad choice. Anyway, so I'm weaker than I expect, and I get in this water, and I can feel my heart racing, and I feel the soul being sucked out of me.
And you're like, you used to be a lifeguard.
I was a lifeguard.
It's not like you're not a good swimmer.
I also used to eat meat.
Okay.
So, Anyway, I eat meat now, and I'm strong. That's where we're at.
We eat mostly meat.
So, yeah. So I get in the water, and immediately I realize I'm past my limits. Like, there is no way. And the reason I mentioned 3 kids earlier is that's the first memory, that's the first thought that flashes in my head. I hit that water, and a voice in my head says, "You have 3 kids. Screw the dog.
Yeah.
Get out." So I climb 2 steps, and I can do some pretty impressive stuff at this point, but that's not happening.
Yeah.
And so the young guy, he sees that I'm having trouble, and of course I'm the one who helped him in the first place. And so it's an interesting back and forth of people being in saner moments.
Right. They're like, okay, now I got this. It's
exactly.
It's like when you're married. It's like one person's losing it,
the
other person's holding it up.
It is. It's a healthy way of living and interacting, and people should do this more often. So he jumps in, and he sees that I'm struggling, and I get out, and I pull myself out, and he jumps in, and he tries his best to get the dog.
Yeah.
Eventually, he can't get the dog. But the old... No. Surprisingly happy ending. Okay. I'm not a dog person.
I don't want to hear a sad story, though.
Yeah.
We're all about happy here.
So anyway, the dog floats away, and we're all watching this dog, and I don't know, it seems fine. Whatever. It's covered in fur. You're covered with fur. Brave. So he gets the lady because she's obviously about to drown.
Yes.
And
she's going to drown for her dog.
For her dog.
I bet you if the dog wasn't in the house, she would still be in there.
Probably.
Yeah.
Anyway, so now we pull up yet another hungry mouth to feed on this roof. And it's fine because nobody's really hungry anyway. Like it's
you're stressed
it's
out.
within a 24-hour period. You're in go
you're
mode.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I pull myself up, and then he's in the water. He jumps off the roof to get her, and he pulls her over. Extremely heroic. Like the way he it was like he was a lifeguard or something. It was amazing. And
it's amazing what you can do when you're young.
It is. Yeah. And so he lifts her up to the I lower the step ladder down. It's a 6-foot step ladder. I keep lowering down to help people onto the roof. And so we pulled them both up, and we all work together, and everybody's on the roof, and it's just this weird scene. And now we have yet another person on the roof, and it's sunny, but the flood is increasing dramatically.
Right. You're like on a raft.
Literally.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
all the time you're looking across the street watching our house fill up with more and more water.
Oh,
you can't do anything about it.
Can't do a thing. The house that I was living in not hours before is just done.
Everything's gone. Christmas decorations, wedding photos, baby photos, kid toys, it's gone.
So,
and on that note,
we
need to take a quick break to talk about Thrive Life Freeze Drive food.
Nice.
If you're looking to put in some long-term food storage, you can check out our friends and affiliates page. It's on our website, and you can get 15% off your first order of freeze-dried food.
Which is pretty significant.
That's significant.
It's really great stuff.
And you know what I've noticed? Their prices haven't gone up.
Haven't they?
No, so...
Wow.
There you go.
That's incredible. I guess because from a business standpoint, they would have, because it's freeze-dried,
right?
They would have had a lot of stock.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it takes a lot of energy to freeze-dry things. Yes. So... at this point, it's still afternoon, and one thing we haven't talked about is very much, because my side of the story was so dramatic.
Mine's boring.
What were you guys doing, like, in the afternoon?
Well, no one was telling us anything.
So you were just in your mom's house, right?
I wanted to get home to my canning and my lasagna that was in the fridge. I realized that my mother had, like, no food in the house.
And her house never flooded.
Her house
so
never
we're talking
flooded,
about a vertical plane difference of about 10 feet.
Yeah.
Like, this is flat ground.
We were still required to evacuate. One of her neighbors didn't evacuate, but it was only because he was like a past service member, and they like allowed him to stay, and he was going to take care of himself, and he kind of like took care of the neighborhood.
Was that her next door neighbor?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that. Interesting.
There's no way he would have left. He would have shot people before he left.
No, he's a neat guy.
But they obviously had a house full of food. So I'm realizing people are like starting to come to this part of the neighborhood, and dinner is coming. I've left that beautiful lasagna in my fridge. Why didn't I grab it? And I had to like make dinner. And my mom just only got like a few days worth of food in her house.
Jesus.
And so I had to go to a neighbor's house and borrow some canned tomatoes so that I could make a big pot of chili on the slow cooker, which we eventually took with us.
Really?
In the evacuation.
Oh my god.
Because nobody had anything. And so I'm like, what do you got? What do you got? And she had some beef and she had some beans, but she didn't have any tomatoes. She didn't have any tomato paste. I'm like putting stuff in the slow cooker, and eventually it ended up in the back of the car when we got evacuated.
Now folks, this is such an apt metaphor for prepping.
Yeah, just have
They weren't prepared in any way for anything.
And if she'd have had enough stuff, and we've said that before when I was talking to her, it was like if she had enough supplies to last the 6 of 7, 8 of us, whatever it would have been in that house, we would have stayed too.
Yeah.
But she didn't. So we had to leave, and we had to be out of our house for 3 weeks.
It was a long time.
We had no control. You know, you couldn't get anything. You're just sitting there wondering what's happening to your stuff as your house slowly rots in the receding floodwaters.
Oh yeah, they were all demoed.
It's disgusting. So that's what I was doing, and then we were waiting for the call to evacuate.
Yep.
I had a full tank of gas because of you, not because of me, because I never fill up with gas.
I did make sure.
I didn't have to be in the lineup, but the lineups for gas were like a mile long.
Yeah.
Because everyone has a
the
tank.
succeeding weeks were, or whatever, they were, it was just lineups.
Yeah.
Just everywhere you went was lineup.
And we all knew that there was a chance we were going to have to evacuate the town.
Mm-hmm.
But at that point, like, how much gas does a small town gas station even have?
Yeah.
So that was stressful, but...
Eventually the whole town was evacuated.
Yeah, and I had to go through it with my mom. I was like, okay, what's in your basement that needs to come up? Because what if the water does come up here?
Yep.
And it's interesting to see people who haven't gone through that evacuation checklist in their mind.
No, that level of trauma.
Yeah.
See, we're talking about boomers here.
So we had already had a couple instances in our life, like the fire alarm moment.
Yeah.
The what do you grab
Yeah.
minute. And so we had already thought through it, and it keeps you calm. And so one of the things that's in our emergency preparedness booklet that you can download, it's only $1, or it comes in the back of every single one of our planners because we think that people should think this stuff through, is what do you do if you only have 2 minutes? What do you do if you only have 5 minutes? What if you have 10 minutes? And you need to think these things through so that you don't make stupid decisions.
Now, if you've been through traumatic experiences,
you
these
probably
things
have more of a level head.
Well, these things are second nature.
But still,
but if
it's
you
good
haven't,
to have it written down. And if you've got older kids and you've got it written down, you can just hand them the list. And you can all just go through the house and get as much done as you can in that amount of time. You could turn off the hot water tank. You could turn off the main line. You could lock all the windows. You can write a note on your front door saying, please don't break down my door. I didn't leave any firearms in my house. So you don't have to buy new locks at the Home Depot with every other person in your town of 15,000 people.
Yeah.
Anyways, you got to think it through.
You got to think it through.
We brought up like the family heirlooms, the stuff in the storage room, the old baby books, all the stuff that I didn't have time to do in my house because it was coming up too fast.
You guys are working your butts off at this point.
I'm
just standing on a roof.
We're filling up the travel
eternity.
trailer.
Yeah.
We're filling the cooler with all the perishable things from her fridge that are going to go bad, making as much ice as we can to fill it up.
Yeah.
We're hooking up the trailer, getting out of that gate. If you're in a hurry
that huge gate,
to get out, get your trailer hooked up and backed up and everything, for some reason, if you're in a hurry, it goes worse. It takes longer. And so we're trying to get all this stuff done. And then, depending on which way the flood was coming, we could either go north on the highway or south on the highway. And those were our two options. And we didn't know until we got to the highway which way we were going to go.
Right.
And frankly, we went south on the highway.
Because you knew your destination, right? You were going to your uncle's house?
Or we were going to have to go to the different uncle's house north.
So when you left...
We didn't know if we were going to be allowed to go north or south.
But you left me a note saying you were going to your uncle and aunt's house.
Yeah. I was hoping. That was my plan.
So you didn't even know you were going to that particular destination?
If we turned around, you might never have found us.
That is so funny. So, no, this is part of the story, in which I'm sure a lot of people have the story. But
because there's low spots in that highway heading south.
Oh, huge dips.
We had to stop.
Yeah.
Well, there was somebody... I don't think it was like an official emergency person, but they had like a reflective vest. And I don't know if you know that place. It's beside the Smiley Face Barn.
Yep.
And it's a really low little coulee.
That's the one I had in my mind as you were describing it. The river was
starting to flow through it. And so they were standing there and like waving through one car at a time. And some people were turning around because they were realizing their cars were too low. I was in an SUV.
Right.
It was still like up well past my wheels.
Yeah.
But it took forever to get south because it was like that was the place that you're going to get washed into.
This is the Trans-Canada Highway we're talking about here.
It was bad.
Yeah, it's a crap highway.
So we
can't even get one highway right in this country. One. It's worse than Ontario.
It's worse than Ontario. Plus the OPP are going to pull you over if you do more than 90 kilometers an hour.
So anyway, you go through this dip.
And so that's when I knew that that's
where you were going to go. Okay.
Yeah.
But you had already left the note on the door.
I was trying to text you and leave you voicemail.
Oh yeah, the whole cell system was down. Everything was down.
At that point, it was just incommunicado, and so I was also
which a flood does not cause.
A flood
this
does
was
not
an
take out
intentional
cell towers.
action committed by
and in hindsight,
government bodies.
I don't know how many people who were there know this, but they evacuated the hospital hours ahead of time.
They knew it was coming and didn't tell any of the people.
They didn't even tell the elementary school next door to the hospital that it was coming. So all those kids were stuck in a Red Cross tent for days, weeks.
So these are the things that the society we live in prioritizes.
This is Canada. The government's not here to help you.
Yeah.
So we eventually made it out there. It was about dinner time. I had chili in the back of the car.
Yeah.
And we waited, and I kind of started to come to terms with the fact that I might be a widow now, and I was trying to figure out where the life insurance papers were.
Wow.
Because I hadn't heard from you.
No.
It was like, okay, I'm up here, and then that was it.
That was it.
And it was a lot of water. Yeah. It was a lot of water.
I've never seen water like that in my life.
It was insane.
It was insane. So I'm up on this roof, and I kind of got that like there were no surprises there in your story for me. And you ended up at your aunt and uncle's house, and which was ironically by the river,
very close to the
riverfront property.
Yes,
it's hundreds of feet up. Yes. Like it's a cliff thing into the river.
But they own like that river goes by their land.
Yeah. They were very wealthy. I'm sure they still are, but they bought this really expensive piece of land on the river, like
beautiful ranch. Yeah. So while I was getting our children settled into safety, where were you?
So I'm still on this roof of this tiny little flat roofed house, which it could have been a peak roof house. Like there was no reason. It was relatively quite comfortable.
About it was maybe one of 2 flat roofed homes in that whole area of town.
Or the whole town.
So that was very lucky.
It was very lucky because we could all just chill out in our own little,
you know what I mean,
6 square foot plot of flat roof house. And there were 2 levels. Like there was a raised level, so you could like go behind the lower level and do your business on the roof and have a little bit of privacy. Handy. It was actually really handy. And this part of the afternoon started to really get tedious because everybody had been saved. Mm-hmm. The floodwaters were so torrential that we realized nobody else was coming along.
Yeah.
And we just nobody
knew anything.
No, nobody knew anything. Nobody had any cell phones.
That's the worst part, is the not knowing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think if there were more days to this event, we would have started to really have deep conversations, but it ended that evening, and so we just didn't really talk about anything. We just watched the water and watched things getting destroyed, and eventually, because you went to the fire department, I'm sure, and told them where I was, it ended up in some kind of emergency database, and we started to see helicopters hovering. And these were private helicopters, not government helicopters, not police helicopters.
These are just like farmers, ranchers,
who gave their fuel and time. We're talking hundreds of dollars an hour.
And they were never reimbursed.
No, I highly doubt it. And they worked together to make sure they saved as many people as they could. And our journey, or our time on the roof, ended when this fairly small helicopter saw us, and we were watching these things for hours fly around us and picking people up.
But you didn't really have a way to signal them.
No way at all. We didn't have flares or anything.
Once it starts to get dark,
and
what are you gonna do?
It was getting on dusk, so
nowadays you could SOS signal them with the flashlight of your phone. But I don't think back then phones even did that.
No,
there wasn't even flashlights on phones.
I had an iPhone 4. I don't know where that puts me technologically, but
that means we're
thinking pretty far back.
Yeah.
And anyway, we see the helicopters, and eventually we realize the helicopter has seen us. And we watch it go and pick up another set of people from some other haven, island, whatever. And then we watch it go and drop them off. Like, we're watching all this step by step. It's
like, when
unnerving.
Are we? Yeah.
So eventually it comes, and the pilot realizes that he can land on the roof theoretically,
Maybe he doesn't realize how poorly this house is built, though.
He sets down on this roof, and
heavy.
I have not had the privilege to be near helicopters, but they are quite heavy.
Yeah.
And this thing, you could feel the structure buckle under this helicopter, and it landed on the roof, and this was army stuff, even though none of us were soldiers or trained or anything.
Yeah.
And we all pile into the helicopter, and it takes off, and it shudders.
Oh.
And the way it shuddered deeply resonated with me. That's not an audio joke. It was an accidental audio joke. It shuddered and shook, and I thought, I didn't know, do all helicopters shake like this?
No.
So it was probably wildly overloaded.
Yes.
But
what's he gonna do? Leave half the people on the roof
while
the collapsing?
He lifted up. We got high above the town. We went to an area where there was obviously a depot where they were collecting
like a
people.
Red Cross.
It was the school.
Okay.
And there were a bunch of school buses lined up, and you could tell there was great marshalling efforts happening. They were moving people around, and we get dropped off in the soccer field. Mm-hmm. I don't even remember which school. Okay. And we get dropped off, and then we're just standing there for a minute, and a few people in vests come up and start directing us, and they say, where you want to go, and I don't know, and it's very chaotic, yet somehow really organized. Like, the way people step up in these situations is really incredible, and honestly, these people are allowed to execute their moves because there is no government interference.
Yeah.
Which, unfortunately, is due to the lack of government interference. Like, we all pay for this plan that never gets executed effectively. Yeah. Anyway, that's a whole other thing. So I ended up on a bus to the next town. Yeah. Half an hour away. I say town, we're talking about a town of 100 people.
Yeah.
It's barely a town.
It's not a town. It has a grain elevator and an elementary school.
And a long history of racism.
Yeah. There's no racism when there's only white people. There's no reason to be racist.
Well, there's the red people.
There
was the first people.
Well, there used to be.
It's kind of
not there anymore.
No, that's true. Anyway, I
remember playing that town in volleyball in high school and being like, these people are not high schoolers.
These are adults.
Yeah, they're like 25. They've all got like full mustaches.
Hockey.
Yeah.
I played them in hockey. And
terrifying.
It was terrifying.
There were a few we're just going to lose. Every once in a while, we'd just like, I don't want to get on the bus to that place. Let's just, forfeit.
Forfeit. I'm going to get hit hard in that game.
Get hurt.
I'm going to get hurt. I don't want to play that game. So we end up in this small town, and we all get dumped off. And we go to this town's, what you would call hall, which is really just a small building where the Elks clubs meet and get drunk every Saturday night.
Trashy weddings. Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm sitting there, literally just sitting there, and this guy comes up to me. Uh-huh. And he says, "Hey, how are you?" "I don't know, I'm all right. You?"
I'm great.
And he said,
"Never been better.
You helped my wife off the roof." I said, "Yeah, no, I helped her." He said, "No." And I could tell immediately what level of businessman. Like, this guy, this is the kind of guy that sells cleaning supplies, but like professionally.
Right.
So not in any way just like...
dealer.
No, not an arms dealer, but like, this is a guy that operates a certain level, and he's an absolute professional. Mm-hmm. And it turns out he runs like some kind of cleaning service.
Okay.
And he has many, many cars.
Okay.
And many, many women.
Okay.
And that's as far as I'm going to go.
Okay.
However, this meant that he said, "Is there anything I can do to repay you?" Mm. And I said, "Well, I don't know where my family is."
Yeah.
I have an idea.
I'm not with my family because I saved your wife.
Well, no, I didn't even have to. He got it. This was the beauty of the situation. I didn't have to say or prove anything.
Okay.
And I love that when people get it. Yeah, it was great. And I said, I don't know where my family is.
Yeah.
And he said, "Well, why don't you take one of my cars?" Oh. And it was this 96 Nissan Sentra, like an absolute garbage car.
Yeah.
But clearly in working order because this guy had multiples.
So it was like a little Mary Mead's car.
And he said,
"Cute."
We didn't even exchange names. And this is another situation with humans that I love, is when you just get it. Who cares what you've done in the past?
Yeah.
Who cares about your credit? Who cares about your backstory, your references? All this stuff is crap.
You can tell what people
if
are
you
good
can't
and
tell, you're the bad guy.
If you can't tell, you shouldn't be hiring people.
No.
That's for sure.
Anyway, we had about a 1-2 minute conversation. We hugged.
I'm sure he was grateful.
And I'm not a hugger. And I am with my wife and kids.
I'm not a hugger.
I'm not a hugger. And he gave me his car and he said, just, get it back to me when you can. Mm-hmm. And I took off.
Okay.
And I took off into the nearly cartoonish sunset.
Okay.
Like, this is dusk. The colors are flamboyant.
When you say dusk, though, we're talking, like, southern prairies.
Summer. Yeah, it was like 10 o'clock in the evening.
Yeah.
It was like nighttime for you Americans. And I zoom off in this crap-ass little car. And I'm going down the highway, and I'm like, okay, first I got to get to Grandma and Grandpa's house. Mm-hmm. I got to find the wife and kids.
Yeah.
And the army's there, which I didn't know about. You knew about. You saw tanks come in.
I knew they were there, but at that point, what was I going to do?
I was like...
they have every entrance to town locked down with
every
tanks.
entrance to town. So, because it's the prairies, there's these weird things with overpasses where they realize that they've commandeered an entire quarter section of land to build one overpass. So they get all Texan about it.
Yeah.
They take the entire quarter section of land to build the overpass.
We get the room. Whatever.
This results in strange little ring roads and side roads that nobody remembers. Mm-hmm. Roads that go under overpasses for no reason, and all kinds of hidden alleyways and side roads. Like, I'm describing the American interstate systems.
Yeah.
And so I know all about these roads because I've grown up here. Yeah. And I immediately realized that the army people have not covered all these roads. Mm-hmm. And I don't know what it was, but I knew I had to get into town, and I saw the tanks there, and I saw a road that I had ridden dirt bikes on and mountain biked on, and I'm like, oh, I'm taking this
generous.
one. Now, I'm going the wrong way down this one-way road.
Yeah.
It's dirt, gravel at best.
Nobody's going to come.
No, nobody cares.
Yeah.
That's one of the beautiful points about things like this. And I take this road all the way into town. And I think I did an illegal U-turn. Doesn't matter.
There was no one there to stop you.
No, I'm in a beige Nissan Sentra.
No one's stopping you.
Nobody stopped me because nobody can see me.
The ultimate gray man vehicle.
It absolutely is.
We need one. We should get one.
Yeah, maybe out of posterity one day. So I zoom into town, 4 cylinders firing. Maybe. And I find my way to Grandma and Grandpa's house. And of course it's deserted, long deserted. Right. You guys had left hours and hours ago.
Right.
But there's that note, which is amazing that you wrote that note not 100% knowing where you were going.
Yeah, that's my bad. Sorry.
So the note said we went to my uncle and aunt's house.
Okay. Which you've been to once, maybe 8 years prior.
Once, maybe.
Like when we
8
were
years prior.
dating.
First dating.
Yeah.
And had never been there again.
I think I gave you the rural route number, but it wasn't the correct highway number.
I think you gave me the highway number.
Okay.
Okay, so being on the prairies, you're talking about hundreds and hundreds of kilometers of road. But something in my brain, I remembered it, and I knew where to go. It's like suddenly you remember a language that you learned once and you forgot. And
then someone says that, and you're like, oh, they're asking where the bathroom is.
So anyway, I got to get out of town, which was actually surprisingly easier than getting into town.
Well, yeah.
And I go to town, and I actually went past the roundabout, past the you-know-what restaurant, and once you're in town, there were no soldiers. There was nothing.
They were just locking it down.
They were just locking it down from the outside.
Yeah.
And so I zoom right through the center of town.
So
I go through the flats.
I want to say.
Yeah.
There are currently people drowning and dying in their homes.
Where?
In the town.
Mm.
And the military is there.
Yeah, the military's there and not doing a damn thing.
They're there to make sure no one comes in.
Into the town.
They are not there
to save the people. Yeah.
That's messed up.
So anyway, I'm zooming through the town, And I have to say again, the lighting was sublime. Had I been a photographer, it would have been just an experience
this was not
unto
the
itself.
Instagram days.
This was not. This was well before
in the days where
shared
Facebook
photography
was only for university and college kids.
Oh, right, that thing.
That was.
Isn't that funny that it's for dumb old people now?
That's
what a weird thing.
Like, it went from, like, 18-year-old to, like,
65-year-olds.
Yeah, it's really weird.
Anyway. And eventually I make it out of the other end of town, which was not unguarded at all because it went into just a random field. Mm-hmm. And I'm zooming down the highway, and in my head, I just thought, I think I knew where to go. And
if I didn't know the rural route number, I wouldn't know where to turn.
No, but I made it.
It's amazing.
And this is one of those amazing magnetic things.
And I've only been there like 1,000 times.
In my head, I was like, I'm finding my family tonight. I don't know where they are, but I'm going to find them. And I found them. And I eventually made it there. When I left that town, which was only an hour from where you were,
yeah,
it was 10 o'clock, but it was still quite light out. By the time I got to your house, it was the middle of the night.
Yeah.
It was 3, 4 in the morning.
Yeah, it's only an hour drive. And it takes
so I had driven for hours looking. It just now occurred to me that...
Trying to, recognize a driveway or a mailbox or a number sign or...
I bet I could have found it faster if I was riding a horse.
Probably.
If I was on a horse, I would have found it faster. Yeah. But we don't ride horses these days. I regret that. I do. I'm not a horse person, especially with all these giant trailers and trucks these idiots have now.
But back then, I could see it.
So anyway, I eventually find you in the middle of the night, and I knock on the door, and I can't remember who answered. I think it was your mom?
Probably.
And she gave me one of these takes, like...
Because honestly, at that point, we were all like...
He's gone.
Nobody's saying it, but
you
it was understood.
Decided that I was dead.
Yeah.
And I show up...
In a car we've never seen.
In a car you've never seen, wearing brand new clothes.
Perfectly pressed, very nice, like, dress clothes.
That's the funnest part of the story, because...
You're going to church at Christmas.
Yeah.
That's the clothes.
Yeah, because these had never been worn. I just bought them that day.
You looked immaculate. You had been fed a sandwich by the Hutterites.
Right. Yeah.
At the Red Cross tent.
The creepy town hall. Yeah.
And you show up in a car that's not yours. It was like some weird, creepy James Bond moment. And so, of course, I'm not asleep because I'm like, oh my gosh, what's happened to my life? And I come out, and you just look like, I don't know, like Jason Bourne or something. It was creepy.
I was in my element. My element is like
your element is chaos.
It is.
You perform better under chaos.
I don't know. I think
a lot
pretty
of men
well now.
do.
I think real men do.
Yeah.
We're meant to solve chaos. And men, that is. Mm-hmm. And I didn't choose to be a man.
Really? You don't identify as a man?
Oh, I very much do. I very much do. If anybody wants
what are your pronouns?
If anybody wants to suggest options, I will have a talk with them about that. Jesus. You can call me Mister. You can just call me nothing and look scared into my eyes.
So he shows up in a car I haven't seen in a nicely pressed new outfit of nice clothing. Mm-hmm. And I say, do you want something to eat? You must be hungry. And you're like, no, I had a sandwich a little while ago. I'm full. Like, what?
I'm good.
What is wrong with you?
And so it's been, how many years has it been?
12.
10, 12 years?
Yeah.
Since that happened?
We have had things have happened to us,
other experiences.
But we have always been prepared. The weird thing is we lived off-grid well before this, but we were still not prepared. We just didn't want the bills, frankly. Yeah. And I didn't want the cost of, like, putting in the power poles. You know, $10,000 a pole? No thanks.
When we first built our off-grid home, we had money. It wasn't so much about the bills. It was about, you know what? I'm looking around me, and I see you're all idiots.
Yeah.
I'm going to try something new.
I'm going to do the other thing.
The other thing. And
even if it costs me more. And back then, it did cost more.
God, did it cost a lot of money.
And there weren't a lot of options. Amazon only sold books. Like, you couldn't get stuff online.
When we first went off-grid, Amazon was barely selling books.
Yeah.
That wasn't until
we bought
moved
everything
again.
off eBay.
We did, yeah.
Do you
eBay was
remember eBay?
Yeah, and Craigslist was big.
Yeah.
It was like...
I remember the first time I saw Kijiji for you Canadians.
Yeah.
That was after we built our first off-grid home.
Yeah.
But
so
we still
anyway,
weren't prepared.
It takes
a thing to shake you into it.
Quite possibly not our first profound experience, but probably our most storied.
Changing. Yeah, it was
storied.
Yeah.
It has like a whole thing of all these amazing things where...
And we've learned from that. And in other disasters, we've profited from that wisdom.
Yeah.
And we would like to help you profit from that wisdom.
Yeah.
Do we have time to quickly run through a few more things from our emergency backpacks
I think we should.
unit?
I do. Yeah, I think we should.
Because I don't want this to turn into a 3-parter, because that's just not
That's a lot.
reasonable.
We're already way over time.
Lots of people do 1-hour episodes.
Okay.
I can do it too. Joe Rogan does like 3 hours and he like smokes drugs and stuff. I can do an hour.
I'm not going to smoke drugs.
No,
I know that's like a
not
thing now where people like to smoke drugs.
I'm good.
And I really don't think Joe Rogan actually smokes hard drugs because you can't keep your head.
No, but still.
But I can't. I'm not going to promote that. Not that I'm...
It's like gambling. I've never gambled. I'm like almost 40. Why start now?
I'm not going to get all Baptist about it and be like, your judgment day's coming. I don't care. Do your thing. Just us personally, we don't have the chops for it.
No.
Maybe Joe Rogan does. I don't know. We don't.
It would not be a listenable podcast.
I'd be melting on the floor.
Yeah. We're talking about emergency backpacks and how helpful it would be in this sort of situation.
Yeah.
If you, as the adult, and I'm saying this from experience of a different Bugout experience, if you try to leave empty room in your bag in case you need to take out items from the kids' bags and lessen their loads, that is super helpful.
Yeah.
So get the biggest bag that you think you can and get a light, high quality bag, at least for the adults.
Yeah. The kids like cute bags. They got to be cute. It's got to be a fun experience.
It has to be light and cute for them.
Yeah.
And it has to be high quality and super lightweight for you.
Yeah.
If all else fails, you could always jettison some of their gear or some of your gear into a heavy duty garbage bag, which is on the list that we have. Your bags need to be stored in a relatively cool space. Mm-hmm. That might not be your garage, depending on, where you live. But if you might get flash floods or tsunamis, you might not want to store your bags in the basement. So
yeah, that's a good
nobody
point.
wants to be looking at them in their mudroom all the time, but also no one wants to go fishing down in the flood waters to get your bags.
Yeah.
If you are going by our checklists, anything with an asterisk beside it, you need to check every 6 months.
Okay.
So it's like stuff that the sizes might change, or food that you should probably eat and rotate and get new. Mm-hmm. Do you want to talk about what goes into like a baby bag? We have babies, we have toddlers. What goes into their bag? I know this sounds boring to me, but I know that from listener feedback, a lot of you stand around with like pens and paper. So,
which, I mean, if you're learning, we do so much of this instinctively. We don't really openly talk about it or even think about it anymore.
But
so
let's just read the list.
Yeah.
What goes into a baby's bag?
So let's talk about easy access. You want to talk about a bag tag with a photo?
Yeah. A photo of the child.
Of the child. Emergency, because if you get separated, which we have been, as we just narrated.
They need something to post.
Emergency contact info. Family emergency plan, which these have asterisks, these first three, so you need to keep these constantly.
Them.
Yeah.
And also, those are in the back of every single one of the planners we sell, and it's in the back of our emergency prep thing, which you can download off of her. You
want to have some laminated blank paper and a Sharpie really marker, handy. So that you can
leave a note for people for where you're going to go. So, for example, when I left our house...
It was a Post-it note.
It was a Post-it note, and I easily could have fluttered away somewhere.
Oh, easily. The slightest breeze.
And when I left Grandma's house, I could have also posted, better directions, like a little map doodled maybe. So we always have that now.
It would have been better. It would have been much more effective and safer if it were a laminated piece of paper. I can see you looking at me like I'm about to tell a joke. With a Scottish style, like a throwing axe through it. Pinning it to the door.
That would have been good.
It would have been good.
It would have... I mean, that door was awful anyway once they kicked every door in town. So
yeah, the cops broke it anyway.
Giant spider in the corner. It's running.
Oh, well, it's not that big, but yeah.
I wasn't going to let it drop on me later.
It's not that big.
The bush. The bush.
No, the bush.
Sorry, we had to cut there because there was a giant spider in the corner.
Spider.
When you live off grid, sometimes there's giant spiders.
Spiders.
Moving on. What else do you have in a baby's or like infant, toddler backpack?
Well, you're going to need clothing.
Okay.
Because they pee themselves often. Well, they do.
We pack only long sleeve pants and long sleeve shirts.
Yeah.
Because
if it's hot, you don't
summer,
need clothing.
Or you can just cut them off.
Yeah.
But if it's the winter, you need the sleeves.
You do. So, sweater, pajamas, hat, socks, like just whatever you can pack.
Yeah.
And you need diapers. 20 diapers.
At least. Yeah.
Babies, yes, for all of our more holistic thinking listeners, which I know you're out there if you're listening.
You could do EC or you could do cloth diapers.
You keep coming up with these acronyms. Are you making this stuff up? Inch bags, EC. I'm not going to lie. I don't know what this stuff is.
Elimination communication.
Come again?
Don't you remember trying that?
Yeah, when we held our newborn over the potty?
Yeah.
That was a stupid idea, and he hated it. And he goes potty fine now.
He's fine.
Anyway, I'm going to get back to diapers. When you have
like more than a half a dozen kids, you get to experiment on some of them.
You're a weirdo. I feel like you're making this stuff up. I mean, I know you're not. But
it does sound made up.
I don't mean to minimize your
minimize my experience.
Minimize your experience. There's a lot of weird crap out there. You're my filter. I'm sorry. So you're going to want diapers because babies soil themselves constantly. Yes. You're going to want garbage bags, cloths, diapers,
but also
wipes. Yeah. Anything, a swaddle blanket, a burp cloth, clean up stuff. Food. First thing, water. A Berkey bottle or a Life Straw.
We really like the Berkey bottles, especially for kids.
Yeah, we haven't had those for years, but we did have them.
The blue.
When we went down to Central America.
The
blue ones, and they were great. Yeah. On water, you need empty baby bottles, actual bottles of water, not just filtering mechanisms. Baby food, baby formula. Now, this is important because you want to have high energy snacks. Goldfish, applesauce, baby food, like stuff that not only the baby can eat, but everybody can eat.
We really like grinding up the freeze-dried food and calling that baby food.
Oh, it's epic. Put a little water in there.
Stable.
It's shelf stable until you put water in.
And if you don't use it, you throw it in your next pot of soup.
Yeah. You want comfort stuff. Stuffed toy, animals, a board book.
This is more important for like the 4 and under crowd.
Yeah, not so much for the baby, but for the toddlers.
Yeah.
Things that smell and feel like home. They provide an anchor, an emotional anchor, which is extremely important. Shelter. You want to talk about having a blanket just to huddle under, or a tarp or a plastic sheet, and some bungee straps in case you have to rig something up.
Those are always handy.
Yeah. You want to get into the safety aspect of things. That's still in the baby bag.
Okay.
A whistle, a compass, a folding knife.
Obviously, the baby's not using these,
but
it's to help the person taking care of said baby.
One thing we learned when packing these bags, and this was purely from experience, is redundancy. So I don't have just a knife, I don't just have a bag with the knives in it.
Yeah.
I have a knife in like 5 different bags.
Yeah.
Just in case.
And you know where they are in every single bag.
We're no longer in our bug out phase, but
we are bugged out.
We are bugged out.
If stuff happens here and we have to bug out, the world
has
on
gone to
fire.
shit and there's nowhere to go.
Yeah.
We have instinctively chosen a very safe place. There are many, many safe places to be.
The only thing
If
that
you
could
look at
happen here
Yeah.
is a forest fire, but we own the only forest around,
Yeah, there's only fields around us.
and we maintain it.
Yeah. I feel like the fire would stop at our
It
forest.
probably would.
It would have to burn a lot of
And
shit.
we maintain a well-maintained forest near our house.
But anyway. In the baby bag.
Okay. Yeah, people have their pen and paper. This is what people are telling me. Just read the list.
Well,
Yeah.
Read the list. So you want to have headlamps. Headlamps in every bag. Extra batteries for the headlamps. Glow sticks. Candles. You want to light a fire? You need candles.
Yeah.
Because even if you can get a flame going, you need a way to maintain that flame. And there's no better way than having a candle.
Yeah.
You get a little bit of spark and a candle lit,
Then
you're good to go.
You have many chances
Yeah.
of lighting that fire if you have a tea
And
light.
successive fires.
One tea light. It's like
Yeah.
a quarter of an ounce.
A Bic lighter. There are so many lighters out there. There are no better lighter than a gas station Bic lighter.
Yeah.
I know Zippos are high quality.
It's 99 cents. Just do it.
Just do it. Get 10 of them. And you have months worth of year. I think we had 4 Bic lighters last year. I don't
Yeah.
think we went through all 4 of them. And we
No.
light fires all winter.
Multiple
Day and
fires
night.
every day.
So get a Bic lighter.
Yeah.
Don't be a princess about it. First aid, which should be in every bag, including the baby bag, and
At
then
least
5
like
masks.
basic first aid.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Nitrile gloves, infant Tylenol. And finally, the records. So in each bag, you should have copies of the birth certificate, healthcare card, SIN numbers, any legitimate info to prove to the government that, yes, indeed, you are a human.
Because
despite
if you
your
can't
stature, bipedal stance, and dual eyes.
Yes. If you can't prove that you live in that town
Dicks.
and that you live there,
Yeah.
they won't let you back in
They
to
won't.
get your house.
No.
To get your stuff.
We all can't Brown Centra our way through back
Yes.
roads.
Yeah.
Only a proper hillbilly / redneck can do that.
Okay. Let's go through the children's checklist really quick. It's mostly the same as the infants.
Yeah. Just highlight the differences.
Okay. In my kids' bags, in the easy access part, I also add zip ties and duct tape because that's very helpful. They have those teeny tiny rolls of duct tape at the
Yeah.
dollar store. That's completely fine. They have the same, shirt, sweatpants, sweater, a pair of underwear, a couple pairs of socks, a garbage bag. They can also use that for a poncho if needed. They have some hygiene items in each bag: toothbrush, toothpaste, chapstick, a teeny tiny hotel bar of soap, toilet paper. If you take the cardboard roll out, it smushes down really small. I give them each a washcloth and a travel shampoo. If needed, depending on the age of the child, you also need nighttime diapers, some sort of comfy, stuffy or a blankie, and a sippy cup or a bottle if they're still using that. As far as food, in each kid's bag after age 3+, I include a Berkey bottle or a Life Straw, not both. I include a pack of Stereotabs and directions that they can understand, a bottle of water, some high energy snacks, 3 juice powders in case that filtered water doesn't frankly taste very good, protein bars, some sort of candy that doesn't melt like hard candy, wet wipes, and the ingredients for one meal for the family that's your size. For comfort, the kids get a little bit more. They get a notebook, a pen and a pencil, they get crayons, they get either a card game or dice, they get a sheet of stickers. Kids love stickers, I don't know why. They get a blanket that smells like home, which is important, and a small toy or stuffed animal that they get to choose, and they get laminated family photos. For shelter, each of my kids get a blanket, a tarp or a plastic sheet, even a clear shower curtain liner is fine, and bungees or a paracord. And as far as safety, the kids, they get the same as the baby, a whistle or a compass. They get pepper spray. That's obviously for an adult to use, but it's important. They get a folding knife, again, age appropriate, and they get maps of the local area. The only other thing that's kind of different is the kids also get small bills and coins because ATMs go down as soon as your cell phones go down.
Yeah.
And that's really inconvenient if you don't have small bills and coins.
Have some cash.
Yeah. Adult 1 and 2. We have in all of our downloads and all of our planners, we have adult 1 and adult 2 lists. They're ever so slightly different. If you are the only adult, you need to combine both. A lot of the stuff is still the same, except adults get USB chargers, like power banks, and the charger cords for every phone that you have in your house. And they get a current photo of every family member.
Yeah.
Also, let's see what's different. You might need deodorant. You might need some feminine supplies, comb, hair elastics, a disposable razor.
Pertinent clothing.
You might need a spare set of glasses, like your old set. For food, adult number 1 gets a kitchen knife, a can opener, ingredients for 2 meals, some disposable cutlery, paper plates or bowls, and the travel cooking implements, right? Like the stove, the fuel, the cooking pot. Mm-hmm. That's adult number 1. Adult number 1 might also get like one of those cheap tube tents or like a bigger tarp. Also for safety, adult number 1 in our list, anyways, the way that we've kind of divided ours, is adult number 1 gets some heavy duty scissors and some work gloves.
Yeah.
And for first aid, adult number 1 gets the full first aid kit, like the trauma first aid kit. They get some N95 masks. They get some potassium iodide tablets, enough for 2 weeks for your whole family. The vitamins are not the same. Mm-hmm. And they get crazy glue. And adults also get, the small bills, coins. They get copies of all your credit and debit cards, and they get copies of everyone's passports. Adult number 2 gets a slightly different list. They still have ingredients for 2 meals, but they don't have all the cooking gear. But they do get like hand crank radio, some tent stakes.
Yeah, you have to split up some of this big stuff.
Yeah,
a hatchet.
The small shovel.
Yeah.
That like little trowel if you need to poop in the woods.
The poop shovel.
The poop shovel. They also get, the credit debit card passports.
There's more toiletries.
Yeah.
You basically have to split up between the 2 bags all of the responsible items, the things you need.
And you need to kind of make it even. Yeah. And so
there might be more protein bars in one adult's bag as opposed to the other.
And for the kids, we just try and give them a little bit of everything.
Yeah.
The other thing that we think it's really smart to think about beyond bug out bags is, what do you do if you know you need to bug out? And so we have, in the printables and in the back of every planner, we have an evacuation checklist.
Yeah.
And I think it's really helpful to make those decisions right now, so you don't have to make choices during a time of stress. And speaking back to that one flood experience, I know people who took like high school reunion photos and snow pants, and that's what they decided they should take, like ski pants.
Why?
Because people make bad decisions in times of stress, and so then they get to the Red Cross camp, and they realize they haven't got their wallet, they don't have their passport, they don't have their insurance papers, but they have snow pants. Phew. In July.
That's crazy.
So you need to make these lists ahead of time so that you can make good decisions, and so that you can delegate to your spouse or kids without having to like reiterate decisions. If you have 2 minutes, what do you grab if you only have 2 minutes?
Kids.
Yeah.
Keys. Yeah. Phones. Pets. wallet, purse, chargers, cash, backpacks, the necessary stuff.
Yeah.
If you have 5 minutes, maybe think about your laptop and the chargers, the household binder, passports, and lock the doors and windows. Mm-hmm. If you have 10 minutes, you have the luxury of considering bottled water.
Just grab a case or two from the basement.
Easy food from the pantry. Turn off the water heater. Get your portable safe or the contents from it. If you have 20 minutes, and it's amazing how fast these things change.
So you've got all this stuff.
Yeah.
You've done the 2-minute list. You've done the 5-minute list. Yeah. You've done the 10-minute list. Your kids are in the car. You're still good. You still don't have that, like, I need to leave now feeling.
Extra boots and shoes, coats, which are important even in the middle of summer. You can get a chill. Leave a note on your door.
Yeah, if you need to tell your husband where you're headed.
Turn off all the lights. Unplug everything you can.
Yeah.
If you have 30 minutes, grab a cooler. Put some ice in it. And put some food in it.
Yeah.
Get some blankets and pillows. And if you're all loaded up with your kids and the animals in the car and you think you still have time, take 2 minutes to check on your neighbors.
Yeah, but don't visit.
No, don't visit. It's a trap.
This is not the time to linger. Give yourself seriously 60 seconds to make sure they know it's time to go.
60 minutes. Oh, you mean 60
seconds for your neighbors.
60 seconds for the neighbors. Yeah, totally.
Pick your favorite neighbor. Yeah. Tell them it's time to go. If they need a ride, take them. That's it.
Yep.
And then get on your way.
Yeah.
And that's our emergency backpacks advice.
Yeah.
Condensed into an hour.
Along with a long story about our probably weirdest emergency bug out.
It's maybe the third.
I think our longest.
Fourth, but definitely the longest.
Definitely the longest. Yeah.
Definitely the most financially detrimental. Well, maybe not.
Yeah.
But it was stressful.
It was weird.
Yeah.
But it was the longest and most profound.
Okay. I'll agree with you there.
Yeah.
Do you have a quote for us to round out today's episode?
Yeah, actually, a determined soul will do more with a rusty monkey wrench than a loafer, this is a person, will accomplish with all the tools in machine shop. That's...
Who's that?
Robert Hughes.
Okay. A loafer is a person, not a loafer as a shoe.
Yeah, I see it as a shoe now. I'm a snob.
Okay. Good night, everybody. I hope this was helpful. If it was, if you could share it with a friend or put it on social media, that is like super helpful to us. And we will see you next time.